consciousness. If the inner workings had become distorted, this matrix could rearrange the inherent vibrations and change the tendency. Maharishi told me that this was the intellect filtering thoughts, helping to harmonize them so they would become more supportive to our health and well-being. There is a lot to be taken away from this experience, but for our purposes, I would like to concentrate on a single point. The further a thought gets away from pure awareness, the weaker it becomes, and the more likely it is to become harmful. What we call negative thoughts do not start out that way. They become misshapen by the imbalanced internal pressures of misconception and fear. Once a thought is born, it experiences a kind of separation anxiety. The Bhagavad Gita puts it this way: fear is born of duality. No longer attached to the unbounded oneness of awareness, a thought perceives that it is alone and tries to compensate for its loss. This is when distortion can infiltrate the otherwise perfectly functioning thought. An aberrant thought is the cause of aberrant action. We only have to look around us to realize that a purely harmonious, loving, and productive thought rarely finds expression in our day-to-day world. If you think I am over-animating the life of a thought or giving it too much intelligence, don't forget that it is the collection of these very thoughts that have brought you to where you are today. Most people take their basic identity from their thinking. You say, I am successful in my job. I believe in free education. I am angry. But what was necessary for you to have success, beliefs, or feelings? Every step of the way, your thoughts have shaped and guided your progress, or lack thereof. The further a thought has to go to work its way up to our consciousness, the more chance it has to become disharmonious. If we could expand our consciousness in such a way as to contact thought closer to its origin, then we would diminish the likelihood of disharmony. This is not a new message. Sages have been telling us to get on this bandwagon for eons. The problem is not what to do, but how. Because we have not fully understood the role of awareness in thinking, we have gotten ourselves into a pretty pickle. But it is more than understanding. Understanding takes place in the mind. Pure awareness is beyond the mind, so understanding it is out of the question. That leaves us with the experience of pure awareness, and that is a bit of a sticky wicket as well. To have an experience, we need the mind. And herein lies one of the most salient and almost universally misunderstood tenets for knowing pure awareness. Pure awareness cannot be experienced. We know it by our lack of experience. I only want to mention this here. No amount of explaining will give us the non-experience of pure awareness. Presently, however, I will show you how to stop your thinking and discover for yourself where thoughts come from. Chapter 5. The space between our thoughts. We must learn to reawaken and keep ourselves awake, not by mechanical aid, but by an infinite expectation of the dawn. Henry David Thoreau. If we could see the miracle of a single flower clearly, our whole life would change. Buddha. The closer to pure awareness we contact the thought, the more energy and order it has. Contacting a thought at its conception is realizing perfection, free of disharmonious influence. Before learning quantum entrainment, you will be guided through several exercises that will open your common awareness to pure awareness. You only need tread the path once, and you will forever be aware of pure awareness. It will be like wearing a jacket on a chilly day. Once you put it on, it will stay there, keeping you toasty warm. Even when you forget you are wearing your jacket, it will still protect you. Any time you wish, you can become aware that you are wearing your jacket. Likewise, once you have found pure awareness, you only have to become aware of it to know it is still with you. Are you ready to get started? Okay then, let's go. Experience 1. Stopping thoughts. Sit comfortably and close your eyes. Now pay attention to your thoughts. Just follow them wherever they may lead. Simply watch them come and go. After you have watched your thoughts for 5 to 10 seconds, ask yourself this question and then be very alert to see what happens immediately after you ask. Here's the question. Where will my next thought come from? What happened? Was there a short break in your thinking while you waited for the next thought? Did you notice a space, a kind of gap between the question and the next thought? Okay, now do this again and perform the exercise on your own. I'll wait. There. Did you notice a slight hesitation in your thinking, a pause between thoughts? If you were alert immediately after you asked the question, you will have noticed that your mind was just waiting for something to happen. Author of The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, says it is like a cat watching a mouse hole. You were awake, waiting, but there were no thoughts in that gap. You may have heard that it takes many years of arduous practice to clear the mind of thoughts, but you were able to do it in just a matter of seconds. Please pause this recording and do this exercise several more times. You can use substitute questions like, what color will my next thought be? Or what will my next thought smell like? Or what will my next thought look like? The question is not important, but paying attention is. Attention will expose the gap, the space between thoughts. This gap is pure awareness. It may be fleeting, but it will be there. As you regularly become aware of this mental pause, it will begin to work its magic on you. Now let's go back to work. Do this exercise for 2 to 3 minutes more, reintroducing the question every 15 seconds or so. Pay attention to the gap when it is there. Look for it when it is not. Within just a few minutes, you will notice that your thoughts are calmer and your body is more relaxed. Why is that? You didn't set out to relax or become peaceful. It just happened naturally without your trying. Why does becoming aware of awareness make such a big difference in the way we feel and behave? By being aware, you are able to contact your thoughts at subtler and more refined levels. Each level offers more order and energy. The gap you noticed between thoughts was the experience of no experience I mentioned earlier. That non-experience was pure awareness. Do a 1-minute meditation, asking the mind a new question every 15 seconds or so. Frequently, do this throughout the day. You will soon become aware of the space that you found between your thoughts even while you were doing other activities like conversing or driving. If you were to do nothing more than regularly observe this brief interval between thoughts, over time, you would notice more energy, less stress, and even a fluid easiness in your relationships with others. You might even notice a lighter mood bordering on impishness. Feeling good is fun. This perception is the foundation for deeper, more fulfilling experiences to come. But even by itself, this single experience is worth the price of admission. Now, let's expand on our knowledge of the source of thought to draw more deeply from its benefits. Chapter 6. Who am I? The unexamined life is not worth living. The only true wisdom is in knowing you know nothing. Socrates. A few years back, Socrates urged us to know thyself. Have you ever asked yourself why he felt that was so important? What possible benefits could befall us if we were to become acquainted with ourself? And what the heck is ourself anyway? Let's take a look. Repeat experience 1, finding pure awareness, and discover the gap between your thoughts. Do it for several minutes, again asking one of the preparatory questions. Ask a question every 15 seconds or so, remembering to be very alert to see what happens right after you ask the question. Experientially, this gap between thoughts is not much to write home about. It is just a space filled with stillness, obvious only after one thought ends and before the next thought begins. Since there is no thinking going on in the interval between thoughts, you won't be aware of it until you start thinking again, and maybe not even then. The mind follows motion. It is enthralled by movement and form. The gap is free of both. It contains nothing. Nothing means, well, nothing to the mind. But that is a big mistake, and here's why. All the thoughts in the mind come from that nothing which we have identified as pure awareness. Test it for yourself. Repeat the exercise and watch the gap. Automatically and without any effort on your part, the next thought spontaneously arrives. There it is, bright as day, a brand new thought. That's pretty miraculous when you stop to think about it. Pun intended. Each new thought is a marvel of creation, and it comes from nothing. So, nothing must not be empty. There must be something in that nothing, otherwise it could not produce a thought. Interesting, isn't it? Repeat experience 1 a couple more times. Above all, remember to be alert and wait to see what happens. By now you are getting to be an old hand at observing the interval between your thoughts. Now, let me ask the $64,000 question. Who is watching the gap? There are no thoughts, no emotions, no movement of any kind, but you are still there, aren't you? You didn't go into a coma. You didn't go to Tacoma. You were right there, waiting for thought to start up again, weren't you? Who was waiting? Who is this you? Who is watching when the mind disappears? When you identify with your thoughts, all balled up in your memories and future plans, you are referring to the me. Me is the collection of things, like your age, your sex, your likes and loves, your hopes and memories that you call your life. But none of that exists at the moment your thoughts stop. To observe, you must be aware, right? So at that moment, when the mind is turned off, you are aware of nothing. At that moment, there is nothing but pure awareness. And now you have solved the mystery of who you are. You are awareness. Does that sound impossible? The fact cannot be denied. Your direct perception has revealed your inner self to be awareness. That's right. Before me was born and built into the image you recognize as yourself, there was the solitary self, the pure awareness. This is what all the hubbub was about 2,500 years ago when Socrates was asking those probing questions. He made people examine not only the content of their thought, but the thoughts themselves. Of course, you and I know how that leads very quickly to pure awareness, the indivisible inner self. Let's think a little longer on this business about us being pure awareness. Think back on your life. Take a moment and revisit your childhood and then some part of your adolescence. Now remember a time during your 20s, 30s, etc., until you reach your present age. Think about what you are doing right now. Over your lifetime, your interests and feelings have changed. Your body has grown and aged. Family has matured and friends have come and gone. But there was a part of you that was with you as far back as you can remember and is with you still today. It has remained unchanged through all the phases of your life. At each stage of your life, no, at each second of your life, while your body-mind was busy becoming what it is today, your awareness stood silent vigil, a timeless witness. When you said, "I want my mommy," "I hate gym class," "I will love you forever," and "I don't like loud music," you were identifying things, events, and feelings that were happening to me, but not to self. The things and feelings of your life, like wanting mommy, hating gym class, etc., all changed and now reside in that part of you called memory. The things of your life changed and are changing still, but your awareness has remained an unmoving witness to the movie that you call your life. Alfred Lord Tennyson spoke to this mystery of enduring changelessness in his poem The Brook, when he penned, "Men may come and men may go, but I go on forever." We could just as easily, but far less eloquently say, my security, feelings, thoughts, body, and environment may come and go, but my awareness goes on forever. It certainly is not as stirring to the soul, but it gets its point across. Why is knowing thyself so absolutely vital? When you come to appreciate your inner self as unchanging, unbounded, eternal awareness, your dependence on the withering body and failing mind begins to loosen its hold. You become aware that you are beyond the field of change and death. You become aware that, beyond all the things and thoughts that me is, you eternally exist as awareness. If just a few minutes of observing the gap between your thoughts brought peace and relaxation, imagine what joyful adventures await you when pure awareness infuses your thinking, eating, working, and loving. Discovering yourself to be pure awareness at the bottom of your mind is the first step to living a full and bounteous life. Teasing awareness into daily activity is the next step. Finally, when you learn to heal your wounds and the wounds of others, it truly is a self-made blessing. Chapter 7. The Gate Technique. If I had influence with the good fairy who is supposed to preside over the christening of all children, I would ask that her gift to each child in the world be a sense of wonder so indestructible that it would last throughout life. Rachel Carson. I have witnessed all kinds of reactions when people discover that they are pure awareness and not the stuff and clutter their minds are filled with. Usually there is some moment of delighted surprise accompanied by a sense of freedom and lightness. That sense of euphoria can last for some time, but sooner or later the ego wants to take back control of its mind. When it does, thoughts and things are again elevated to their exalted and exaggerated position of importance. The frail echo of awareness fades into itself and is quickly forgotten. This does not have to happen. Hitting all the bases in this book will pretty much assure you of stabilizing pure awareness. The next step to accomplish that end is to deepen and broaden the non-experience of pure awareness. We'll do that by increasing the amount of time we are aware of pure awareness. To do that, I have developed a wonderfully simple and effective process that anyone can do the very first time. I call it the gate technique because it opens the gate to pure awareness as easily as if it had been oiled by the gatekeeper himself. All we need to do is walk through. The gate technique creates a subtle yet profound shift in the way we see our world. This shift may be barely noticeable at first, and yet it will deeply influence your body-mind, and from there all other areas of your life. After just a few weeks of doing the gate technique, it is not uncommon to have friends comment on your relaxed features or your soft luminescence reflecting from your eyes. It's time we got started, so roll up your sleeves and get ready to open the gate to yourself. Experience 2, the gate technique. Note, you can download an audio MP3 version of this on the website www.quantumentrainment.com. Now, get ready for the gate technique. Sit in a comfortable chair where you will not be disturbed for 10 or 20 minutes. Close your eyes and let your mind wander for about 10 or 20 seconds. Now go through a list of positive words in your mind. You may see the words or hear them, it doesn't matter. Examples of these words might be silence, stillness, calmness, peace, joy, bliss, or ecstasy. You may also see or hear other words like light, love, compassion, space, infinity, pure energy, existence, or grace. After you have run through your list of positive words, go back over them. Gently pick a word that draws your attention. Now all you have to do is easily observe the word. Simply pay close attention to what you see and what it will do. As you innocently watch without interfering, your word will eventually change in some way. It may get bigger or brighter or louder. It might start pulsing, or it may get fainter or even just fade away altogether. There is no telling what it will do, but that doesn't matter. Your job is to purely observe without controlling or interfering in any way. It is like watching TV only in your mind. Now how easy can this be? As you watch your word, your mind may shift to other thoughts, or it may start listening to sounds coming in from around you. You may forget that you are doing the gate technique for a while. You may lose yourself in thoughts, sometimes for minutes at a time. No biggie. This happens. When you realize you are not observing your word, just serenely find it again. That's it. The power of the gate technique is in its simplicity and innocence. Now, one last thing. You may notice that your word occasionally disappears. That's okay. Just observe the space it left behind. You will recognize it as the gap where pure awareness abides. The gap is not a goal. It is only another of the many exchanges your mind can go through. Soon, all by itself, your word will return. Or it may turn into another word. That's okay too. Just accept the new word and watch or listen as you did with the old one. So, to review, sit with your eyes closed and after a few seconds easily find your word and simply observe what happens. Don't interfere, just watch. When you realize other thoughts or noises are there, quietly find your word and begin observing again. If you lose your word, it will return or another will take its place. Just follow along. It doesn't matter what happens as long as you purely observe, uninvolved, what is unfolding before you. Continue the gate technique for 10 to 20 minutes. Always get in at least 10 minutes if you can. When finished, do not open your eyes quickly or jump up and start doing things right away. Keep your eyes closed. Take another minute or two to stretch and to come back to the outside world slowly. If you come out too quickly, you may feel some irritability, headache, or other physical discomfort. Whether you notice it or not, your body will be very relaxed, and it needs time to transition back into full activity. Your mind will want to get going right away, but give your body a chance to catch up. Then slide easily back into your active life. Do the gate technique at least once every day. However, twice a day quadruples its effects. The best time is as soon as you are awake. Your second experience is fine sometime later during the day. If you can't squeeze it in during the day, do it before bed. This will blissfully dissolve the day's stresses and make for a great night's sleep. This is important for continued success. Reread these instructions or listen to the gate technique download every couple of days in the beginning. This will erase any bad habits that may inadvertently work their way into the practice. It is common to think you are doing it correctly only to find out that you have left something out or added something unnecessarily. If you are not careful to maintain innocent observation, the gate technique will not be as effective, and you will find yourself thinking that it is not working as well as it did in the beginning. This is a dead giveaway that some impurity has crept into your practice. After 2 weeks of checking your practice every couple of days, reread or play the instructions every 2 weeks. This will ensure that you benefit fully from your practice. The gate technique teaches us to rely on nothing other than observation. What happens is quite magical. A deep healing begins without a glimmer of effort. Actually, effort of any kind is counterproductive. What the gate technique effectively does is bathe your psyche in the healing waters of awareness. We are actually aligning with the wisdom that made the body-mind. When done regularly, you will experience greater energy, physically and psychologically, more relaxation, less illness, more resistance to mental and emotional stress, and improved relationships. All this is accomplished by simply paying attention. Very quickly, you will notice that you are observing more and more outside the gate technique during daily activities. The gate technique is perfect by itself, or it can be added to the beginning of other practices to enhance their effectiveness. Just be sure not to change the gate technique itself. Its power is in its simplicity. It is complete as it is. Adding to or removing anything from it will only make it less effective. Soon you will be learning quantum entrainment, the scientific method of instant healing. While the gate technique is not used directly in the quantum entrainment process, it does help to rarefy awareness, which is the cornerstone of QE. Done daily, it will quickly establish the habit of present awareness in activity. Later, when you are proficient with quantum entrainment, you can substitute QE for the gate technique, although many people continue to do both. Now it is time to look at what quantum entrainment is and how it works. Then you will learn how to actually heal with QE.